Hello. Give me a second. How is everybody doing today? It depends on what you do. It depends on what you mean by gross. Define gross. Hello, Marie. Oh, well. Gee, Ross, you take away all my fun. There might be a little bit about decay. Maybe, because we are talking about bogs, so, try to not keep it gross. I'll try to keep it from being too gross, but, I can only promise so much. I mean, it's a bog. Decay is sort of what it does. Let's see if I can do this without... I want to kill. Get it right, dude. Have you not read my pinned statements? Give me a second, guys. I'm getting something ready. How is everybody doing today? Well, then maybe you should read it. True, it is. Okay. We have a lot to talk about today. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I know I have when I was in college. Hi, hi there. How are you? Okay, so today we're talking about bogs, and ecosystems are more than just their plants and animals. It's also their relationships and climate as well. So we are going to be talking about bogs, as I already mentioned. We're going to be talking about different types of bogs. We probably are not going to have time to get to the second part, or what was supposed to be the second part of this, which was fens. So we'll do that later tonight. I'm going to take this slow because I'm covering a lot. I'm even covering stuff that I don't have in my script. So that's going to be a thing. So bogs, first and foremost, they are a freshwater habitat. They're a freshwater ecosystem. And there's a few kinds of them. There is a blanket bog. And a blanket bog is basically, it's up in the highlands, and it tends to cover a very large area. Clyde Park, I absolutely agree with you. Though I find everything in nature cool. So there's that. Now, a cataract bog is a bog that is fed by a freshwater stream. Okay? Quaking bogs are even more awesome because these things are like a natural bounce house. This is where a lake or a pond gets covered in thick vegetation to at least the depth of 3 feet. And they call them quaking bogs because when you walk on them, it bounces, it moves. Raised bogs are sort of dome-shaped with an accumulation of decaying vegetation smack dab in the center. String bogs are bogs that have islands within them that sort of interrupt the ecosystem. Another type of bog, and I'm going to type this one out because I'm not going to try to pronounce it. If you've been with me very long, you know that I have a hard time sometimes with pronunciation, and I think it's ambrotrophic bogs. I hope I got that close. I suspect there's birds that live in bogs as well as swamps. Yes, they do. Quite often. Depending upon the bird. Now, these ambrotrophic bogs are bogs that form when sphagnum moss covers dry land. But what probably happens is precipitation that comes down from the sky gets underneath it and they get trapped. It gets trapped because the sphagnum moss sort of holds on to it. And so you get a bog. A valley bog is just that. Except that when you visit a valley bog, you start speaking in that weird California thing. Just kidding, you don't. We're going to skip other stuff, and we're going to talk about the soil found in a bog, because this is everything. Except, the water counts for something. But in a bog, the soil is largely made up of decaying vegetation. That's, in essence, what a bog is. Its soil tends to be really wet, nutrient poor, and it also has not a lot of oxygen in the soil. biodiversity in some of these bogs is not as high as it could be in other areas. I agree, Marie. Some of the names in my lives can be they can be interesting. The soils tend to be acidic and, like I said, waterlogged. Not necessarily. They can be, but not necessarily. Now, the plants in a bog, they don't decay like a bog, like in a swamp. They tend to go slower because there is less oxygen getting into the bog. Waterways become clogged with plant matter, both living and decaying and dead and whatever. And these decaying plants become the main components of bog soil. Like everything that we talk about, bogs they have soil. Not every ecosystem that we talk about has soil, but in this case they do, and it has a special name. And its name is histio. Make sure I spelled it right before I hit enter. Nope, I didn't. Haha. So histosol. Anyway, that is what we call bog soil. And again, it tends to be acidic. You can only walk on it if it's a quaking bog. Because bogs tend to be wet. So if there's dry land, yeah, you can probably get away with walking on it. But bogs also are very sensitive, so you shouldn't go tromping around inside a bog just for fun. Exactly. A quaking bog you can walk on. You're not going to have an issue. But you don't want to do too much disruption in a bog. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. In some places, bogs have a special name. You may call them a heath, like a heath bar. That's because in some places, bogs are home to a plant called heathers. And heathers can spread out across the bog, and that's why they call them that. Quaking bogs are bogs where the plant matter is at least 3 feet deep, and you can literally bounce. Like it moves when you walk on it. Because if you were to do a core sample, you'd have water coming up through the cores. So now, have you ever heard of peat? Probably you have. Peat is a fossil fuel. And it is the first stage in plants becoming coal. Exactly. So peat is made up mostly of peat moss, but it's also made up of decaying, all of that decaying vegetation. Another really cool thing about bogs is that they help to reduce flooding. Yes. Yes. Now, the cool thing about peat is that it'll catch fire really quickly, but it burns slowly. The problem with using peat is when you take it from a bog, bogs take forever to be restored. So if you damage one, it's probably going to be damaged for your lifetime, your kid's lifetime, and your grandkids' lifetime. Thousands of years. I have no idea. I've never burned it, so... Bogs that get all of their water from precipitation, we've already talked about this word previously, but I'm going to add it back in. Because we're going to talk about it again. Why? Okay. So, ambrotrophic bogs get all of their water from precipitation. They have no other freshwater source other than rain, snow, hail, whatever. Again, they have very, very few nutrients inside their soils. So, there are certain plants that are adapted to a life where there is very few nutrients. But the difference is these plants are capable of getting their own nutrients. And they do that by catching insects. Now, if a bog gets their water from, say, a lake basin or other water sources that is not precipitation, they tend to have larger biodiversity, which is an amazing, awesome thing. One thing that is not awesome, or is sort of awesome, actually, it is really awesome. Bogs hold on to carbon, which is an amazing, awesome thing because carbon dioxide is a major greenhouse gas, which means that if there's too much of it in our atmosphere, it gets really warm really fast. It contributes to global warming. So the more carbon you have up in the sky, the hotter it's going to get. So if you go in and you start tearing apart a peat bog, you're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. At least if you burn it. Possibly. Now, there is a problem when you destroy a bog. Well, they don't take it out of the air. It's already there because of the plants. The plants take in carbon dioxide and release it as oxygen. So when they die, they're holding on to carbon. And since bogs are just filled with decaying plants, they never fully let go of that carbon. Worldwide, that is, every bog that's out there, the world's peat bogs hold on to more than 200 billion tons of carbon. Let me read that. The world's peat bogs hold more than 200 billion tons of carbon. And a lot of that is going to be up north. Now, there's another problem. As the planet warms up, right? And we're all sort of enjoying the warmth and the love. Greenhouse gases, as the tundra and these other northern bogs begin to thaw out, Massachusetts, I don't know where you live. Exactly. But there are places you can visit. No, you are absolutely fine. Oh, come on. Marie, you will have to do your research and figure out where these places are. Because I have no idea. But these are places that you can visit. And let's see. There's one more for you. That is going to be in this last one. That's the city or the town that it's in. A lot of these have trails that you can go on. You'll have to do your research and find out. Right, because those typically are open to visit during the wet season. So during harvest time. So, but the others you can probably visit anytime. And they do have trails. A lot of them have trails that you can walk. So, really cool about that. So, when you go in and you destroy a bog, you are setting up for major issues. Just as an example, in Indonesia, they had a forest fire. The forest fire ignited an underground fire that lasted for months. Those fires released 2,205 pounds of carbon into the atmosphere. So a lot. When you go in and you destroy a bog, you are basically doing something that takes thousands of years to remedy, to develop, to fix. In England, they have destroyed permanently, like there is no going back, more than 75% of their bogs. Well, Croesus, thank you. May God bless you as well. It would be rare. It would be rare for a bog to be restored, but in some places they are doing it. And as Croesus mentioned, There are bogs have been sort of special places. Yes. Bogs have been special places. During the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, bogs were these weird places. They were weird because, think about it. How do you explain to somebody in a period when we really didn't have science? Imagine walking on ground. Imagine walking on ground and having it move as you walk across it. I think the acidity also helps to do that. But these bodies, these bog bodies, they're interesting because bogs were a spiritual, they could be looked upon as a spiritual place. Exactly. Magic. It was spongy. The soil was, they didn't understand bogs. A lot of the bodies that they found were bodies that ranged from children to the elderly. And many of them, many of these bodies did not, they were not unalived via natural causes. Many of them had I'm trying to think of ways to say this. And I don't know how. Many of them were part of rituals. Some of them had arrows in them. Some of them were strung up, if you know what I mean, with the rope still intact. Because, and this is the secret behind a bog body. Bog bodies have bogs as a ecosystem have very low acidity. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I can't read. Have very low oxygen, and they also have acidic soil. That combination of low oxygen and acidic soil preserve the bodies. I would imagine so, Croesus. These bodies have been so well preserved that their skin is intact. They have internal organs. Some of them still have their beards. Their hair may be intact, and their tattoos, if they had them, some of the tattoos are very clear, even now. It's really, really amazing. I have not. Bassett? As in the cat goddess? Okay, now you got me. So, yes, these are incredible places. If you have a bog near you, definitely visit. It's well worth it. That's crazy. Tonight we are going to do fens, which I think, if I remember right, is a fen. I believe fens are a type of bog-ish ecosystem as well. Ooh, Orpheus. That's kind of wicked. Howdy, Sheldon. How are you? I know who Orpheus is, yes. He was a musician in Greek mythology. He was a musician who went down, he fell in love, went down to Hades to bring her back, was ordered not to look back as he was returning to the land of the living, and like a foolish mortal decided to turn around and look and lost her again. Yes, Vlad Tepes. Now that was a guy you could look up to. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. You really couldn't look up to him, but you could look up to his work. Thank you, Marie. It was a really bad one, but um so why would Orpheus be buried so far away from Greece? And I don't want to sound dumb, but how do we know that it's actually okay? That makes sense. It's been a while. It has been a while since geography. I admit, a little bit rusty. Bulgaria used to spend 3 Cs. So the Black Sea, the Aegean, so it shares a coastline on the Black Sea. Not familiar with the Hi anime. Hi Sheldon. Hi anime Wikipedia. Interesting. Yeah, the Greeks actually had elephants. I don't know. Yeah, they were not full-sized elephants though. They were dwarf elephants. And they were only found on the islands in the Aegean for the most part. I think that would make sense. That would make sense, Croesus, because they would come with out of that fertile crescent, right? I can't find it, but I'm pretty sure I talked about the elephants. Now that I did know about. Maybe it was the pygmy elephants. a little bit about the pygmy elephants there. I wonder why they left Syria. Get away from. Well, they maybe. Well, but that was their Fertile Crescent. So I'm assuming maybe other forces were at work. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking war. Right. Now, are we talking like did they leave? Did they leave this area like biblical old world, like old world? That is so dumb. Um, would they have left? Croesus, did they leave during the time like Moses ish? Do we know? Or do we just have this knowledge based on. Right. Because you could be a refugee leaving war. They could have been exiled, who knows? Okay. Well, I figured it was, but I was just trying to figure out. Okay. So we could be talking about. Right, right. So was it... And then you get Vlad Tepes, who stepped in, and he really kept Islam from entering Europe. But of course, that was much later in history. Who, Yash? Yash X? Who are you talking to? Because there's a lot of yous in here right now. I agree, Marie. I completely agree. I am from the greater Yash X. I am from the greater Chicago area. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Yash X, look up at my pinned comments. Thank you, Croesus. It's so cool. Favorite singers? Josh Groban. I am from I grew up sort of 70-ish, 80s-ish. I don't have a favorite car because I don't drive. So I don't really pay attention to cars. They really mean nothing to me because I don't drive. Sorry to say. But yeah, there's so much I wish we knew. I'm having as much fun as I can. Fun is fun for me is probably different from other people. Are they? Are they though? I don't know. Yash X, you are not right in that. My parents are not looking down from heaven. Sorry to say. Very much so. You're fine. You didn't know. You're fine. Yash X, you're fine. It's me. I am the expert at opening up mouth and inserting foot. Yash X, I don't talk politics in my live. Exactly, Marie. I have my opinions, but I don't share them um in live. Or in my channel for that matter, too much. Um Nature, whatever is being talked about in live at the moment. I'm a writer, so I like to talk about my books, my characters, the things that my stories are based on. Which it sounds like um it sounds like Croesus would be amazing to talk to. I'm a writer. I didn't say that I've um hello transport time. Long time no see. Um, I didn't say I've done a lot of reading. I will have to check him out. Sheldon, I will have to check him out. It's okay. Mark's Habitat. I think it's good. Hello, Lincolnshire Transport. How is everybody doing today? And thank you, Sheldon, for the name of that channel. I will check it out. My current work of writing is vampires. Or vampire. I don't know. It would be wrong for me to say my grandparents. Your basement flooded? That is horrible, Marie. It's only in the 50s, maybe 60s. It's 53, maybe. I am so sorry, Marie. Is it like a finished basement where you had like carpeting or whatever down there? Or was it like ours? Loaded with stuff, but cement. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was close to my grandpa's, to my grandparents. Yep. Yeah, that's like ours. Ours is cement. I don't go in Chicago that often. Yeah, I've definitely been there, Marie, with the basement flooding. I don't go into Chicago that often. I would. I don't know what I would do. I would work on education. I would change the way that we're handling immigration right now. I don't know what else because I don't want to get into politics. But education would be one thing. That is true, Sheldon. Clean out the cabinets. Yes. Although you're probably talking to Marie more than me. I like Dracula, like the 1930s Dracula. I like anything that Ray Harryhausen has done. Clash of the Titans, the original Clash of the Titans. I'm a big like sci-fi fantasy fan. Labyrinth, uh the Chronicles of Narnia, all over that. You're asking the wrong guy. I haven't, other than pictures. Sheldon, I haven't seen it. But I've seen pictures from it. Well, Pan's Labyrinth is also a movie, but it's interesting. To say the least. Yash X, I'm not talking politics. Any war, any conflict is bad. They're not good. Yeah, it was. I forget who wrote it. It would have to be subtitled. Yeah, some of them were gifts, but yes. And I haven't added that much over the last few years. And probably won't for a little bit longer. No and no. Yashaks, no and no. You are asking a lot of questions. I don't know. I honestly, carry me through. I have no idea what it's about. No, I'm not married. You're okay. Hi, Jurassic Edit X. Yash X, you're fine for asking questions. Croesus, you still here? Or you leave? My hair is looking good? I guess. Thank you. What's love for you? I don't know. I think I'm falling asleep on you guys. I don't know what love is for me. That's true, but my grandparents are not here anymore, so. I do love my friends. Sometimes, but not a lot. Um, I'm here. I don't need. Some days I miss being married and I miss having bringing up kids, but being single is what I know. So, eh. Okay, guys, I think I need to get off of here sometimes. Oh, Marie, yeah, I agree. The last one I was in was actually not too bad. The one that hurts, I won't go back. Bye, Yashax. Okay, guys, I am sitting here falling asleep. I think I need to take a nap. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming in. Love y'all. Take care of yourselves. And be safe. And I will talk to you guys later tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Talk to you later. Oh, wait. And there's that. Out of 12 votes, 58% of you said no, you have not visited a bog, and 41% of you said yes, you have. So with that, I will let you go. Have a good one. I will see you guys later at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye bye.